Hi, everyone. My name is Noah Ross, and I'm here on behalf of Small Press Traffic, a literary nonprofit in San Francisco, California. Thank you to everyone who has put in so much work into this remarkable and moving event. We are devastated by the ongoing genocide, but find power in the solidarity on show in this marathon reading. Thank you, Ghazal, organizers everywhere, readers everywhere, and everyone who has been tuning in. We have 6 readers today. I'm just going to quickly share their names in the order they'll appear and then move on to them. Readers are Bahar Ahsan, Noor Hashe Brody, Susan Gevirtz, Sloan Holzer, Angie Sijin Liu, and Willa Smart. Thank you, everybody, sending.
Hi. Thank you to Palminar and to Small Press Traffic for including me in this. I'm going to read 2 things. The first will be one by Carrie Edwards titled Oddly Shaped 4 Times, which she contributed to Leslie Scalapino's edited volume War and Peace. Oddly Shaped 4 Times. Replied erotic intent, gravity's character appendage, oil-stained fringes, replied each step, a motion detector, an instruction booklet, that oddly shaped multiple choice. Replied the erotic intent, hemorrhaging on inserted squares, polite anchors for large sheeted pre-planned machines. Replied the very best to come with an instruction booklet. Replied the rest from 4 times in occupied land. Replied the erotic intent. The next step, a clause, a prosthesis, passage to another, an oily spot trampled 4 times. Replied an instruction booklet occupied by both. Replied the horizontal, so be it. Replied the tumbled overboard. Despite the oily spot, the others proclaimed the oily spot force of the coins, cerebral chain. When it begins again, oddly shaped. Next step, how yellow occupies both. And then the next thing that I'll read is mine, and it's sort of a reconstituted, I wrote this newsletter for Kennedy Press in the summer for their July newsletter, which sort of considers a few different kinds of personal and political kinds of grief and their relationship to poetic life. And I won't read from the newsletter exactly, but I'll read a sort of a version of the poems that appear in it. Yeah. Point of conduct given with a human face, in the mood very facile and fixed by metonym, sucked for holding environment, bring it into its sucked state astonishment epochal, and with a human face. Glossed line would be the weakest possible attribution, an allegory and a tight one, which extends and slopes distributed sound. Comfort isn't perfectly reproducible, not symmetrically rung. The Fordist ring intemperance for bisection mooch. Pole star threads generously anterior, the spot where that recourse falls short. When splaying, experience is a preface to redemption spire. Solicit me and its grumbling clitoral jurisprudence, bergamot corrective in most. You see, splaying is plainer and reveals material not exist. Having seen so much of myself, bleeding and tiled, feelings incursion into pamphleteering oxblood plain. Easy to be kind, fragrant to be taught, with sentiment, in the smack mist, the vulgar intemperance of canned salmon encroaching, rewarded, gaff-rigged, bound, spread. The slough of any mountain, its horniest vector. Vector action can only be described. Spread. You can gut things and produce a variety of effects. Outside of myself tiled, Violet cleans it up braided. Funky shavings are her reward. Plasticity marked slough, that's the point of entry and its cost. Excess is the only vehicle for lapse. I'm in there upon that, blustering, waiting game. Plainer changes formal delicacy gets me off, distortion laid bare, plasticity that's displaced by its own depth of feeling, wrangle boned. It's a reward form and gesturally lambasted, pleased with only milk seed retort, so embattled, salt of the earth one's want, the vixen by which I'm allowed to reproach. Twisting on a fine tip and a braid and writhe verbally like a drunken horse shingled in ice, saturation of the proof and negative and finely ground. Seeing so much of myself outside of myself, I am talking about blood. What could be read as parallel if one went west to meet it, but he couldn't come for fledgling rasp or agon, or something to be said about style. Altercation for brush, interest taken out against myself, my low regard for private abrasion. I know it isn't a parable because it doubles and migrates, a bird with a just sharpened beak, sharpened to ring, where French habit is sap that stretches what I procure. When it's writhing, it is not allegory or fish judged by its freshness, twisting on the finer points. Milked dry while toppling skates embarrassment, differently shaded in arch swing down to meet in love and hoard and suffer, bring romance along with it. Milk boil stare which precipitates some outbreak brushed back over, only the outbreak is watching the paint dry and taking the arched pulse. Thank you.
My name is Noor Khashe Brody, and this is my translation of Ahmed Shamlou's poem Retribution, published in 1970, followed by my mom Shide's reading of the original in Farsi. I became a fruit on a branch, and I became a stone in a child's hand. May a miracle not shelter me from myself as my hand is open to face myself. Up high, pace across my house's view of the horizon, like the revolutions of satin clouds, revolution being a turning back. Take a step. From the bombing of a lost bird, when I return to the porch, before I open the door, appear with a face that's rain and murmur. Do as you will, so the axe bearer has a little time to rest his hand. Who said I am the last survivor of Earth's wise men? I am that beautiful ghoul who stands on the equator of night, where all the world's clear water drowns, and I play where stars were born. At the end of my land, there is a hut where footprints, like a ghost's dance, depend on a deceptive thirst, where man and God hinge, yes, where hinge soil and my hollowness, there is a rickety hut, and wind passes through the dark gallery, sweeps my cold, barren porch. I have seen slaves of high status in lofty palaces, golden collars around their necks, and my free people in patched clothes singing as they walked on foot to slaughter. My house is at the end of the world, where hinged soil and hollowness. We were told, we will teach you that holy word, but because of it, you must endure a deadly punishment. We endured the deadly punishment for so long, yes, that we forgot the holy word.
عقوبت احمد شاملو. میوه بر شاخه شدم، سنگ پاره در کف کودک. طلسم معجزتی مگر پناه دهد از گزند خویشتنم، چنین که دست تداول به خود گشاده منم. بالا بلند بر جلو خان منظرم، چون گردش اطلسی ابر قدم بردار. از هجوم پرنده بی پناهی چون به خانه باز آیم، پیش از آن که در بگشایم بر تختگاه ایوان جلوه‌ای کن، با رخساری که باران زمزمه است. چنان کن که مجالی اند کک را در خور است، که تبردار واقعه را دیگر دست خسته به فرمان نیست. کی گفته است که من آخرین بازمانده فرزانگان زمینم؟ من آن غول زیبایم که در استوای شب ایستاده است. غریق زلالی همه آبهای جهان و چشمانداز شیطنتش خاستگاه ستاره است. در انتهای زمینم کومه ای هست، آنجا که پا در جایی خاک همچون رقص سراب بر فریبتش تکیه می کند. در مفصل انسان خدا آری، در مفصل خاک و پوکم کومه ای نااستوار هست و بادی که بر لرجی تاریک می گذرد بر ایوان بی رونق سردم جاروب می کشد. بردگان عالی جاه را دیدم من در کاخهای بلند که قلاده های زرین به گردن داشتند و آزادی مردم را در جامه های مرقع به سرودگویان پیاده به مقتل می رفتند. خانه من در انتهای جهان است، در مفصل خاک و پوک. با ما گفته بودند آن کلام مقدس را با شما خواهیم آموخت، لیکن به خاطر آن عقوبتی جان فرسای را تحمل می بایدتان کرد. عقوبت جانکاه را چندان تاب آوردیم آری که کلام مقدسمان را باری از خاطر گریخت. احمد شاملو.
This is Susan Gewurtz reading from San Francisco. Thanks to all the organizers for putting together this global reading. I'm honored and glad to be reading with all of you poets around the world, united against the genocide the Israeli government carries out right now and against all repressive and genocidal regimes. I'm going to start with some small poem excerpts from the Kabul Atlas of Poetry on the House of Tazwir website. House of Tazwir is a Jewish anti-Zionist school, gallery, place to meet, discuss, and worship in Berlin and elsewhere. This is Ibn Arabi. The cosmos is but a fantasy without any real existence, which is another meaning of the imagination. You imagine that the cosmos is something separate and self-sufficient, while in truth it is not so. If things are as we have decided, know that you are an imagination, as is all that you regard as other than yourself is an imagination. All existence is an imagination within an imagination. The Death of Color, Sohrab Safari. A color on the edge of night, wordless, has died. Ceylon. No one needs us again out of earth and clay. No one incants our dust. No one. On censorship in dreams, Freud. Dream distortion adopts the same methods as postal censorship for expunging passages which are objectionable to it. And I'm going to finish with a few passages from Tyrone Williams's book As Is, from the poem Burn the Book of Life. The epigraph. Still I follow in burning these books, the model of leading masters who are to be emulated, whose guidance is embraced and whose fire is sought by the dim-sighted. Abu Hayyan al-Tawidi. Rumored wildfires, a Christian mob, a harbor of burning ships, the book to claymore books moot, spread to forests after immolating tree lines, Alexandria, Antioch, Ashurbanipal, Ticknor and Smithson notwithstanding, the librarian has never been able to bend his patron to his purpose. And thus adult education is poorly served by this public front of voracious omniscience, which deigns to irrigate the surrounding wastelands of human ignorance, but hoards its nectar while drenching the plains, waters rising to flood proportions, and Noah a cloud above no land or water. Burn the book of life, and the cuneiforms solidify in the purifying fires of papyri, leather, wax. Burn the book of life, and the last 3 books of Sibyl must be purchased at great cost, a complete collection. Thank you.
The poem is called Flying, for Mary Oliver and June Jordan. It's too late in the season for corn, but still its husked torso renders a pyramid. Squat green plastic flats of strawberries line a folding table, while seasonal produce competes with once-in-a-decade storms, pummel the grieving earth with more rain than she knows what to do with. Fish will learn to swim these new runs. They will sail leaping, fin wriggling, cherry pink stripes along the horizon, into the sky and away from us. Halloween blisters Brooklyn, and there's snow in Las Vegas. Revanchist lust whimpers out a narrow defeat at the polls. Red-tipped, the caps of a plastic arrowhead or foam dart perforate a dotted line. The next time it will be metal or stone. Buckled seams tender and go slack. Talking heads announce abandonment as their new strategy. Another trans woman fulfills a first with APAC money and prides herself on remaining polite in the face of it all. The aisle is reached across when it needs more lethality. Stretch the narrow window for tomatoes until it breaks. Blanch the skin. My grandmother parades acceptance, laughing as riot cops mass a storm front, bubbling plastic shields like thunder over UC Irvine. An uncle touts a pride Shabbat before wishing death. Drop immediately into an ice bath. Peel. Rot seeps. Sipped groundwater sinks. Red at the core, a facade all along. I learned the many meanings of pomegranate in middle school. Silvery and bent metal caps placed at the rolled ends of a sheepskin scroll. So many seeds bleeding. A grenade. I planted 3 pomegranate trees in my parents' backyard, dug under the loose clay that lined a shovel, and nestled a bulb tied there to a stake. They bloom and fall, as ripe as death and twice as heavy, plopping next to warm fence posts and dog shit. No soldier has torn them from the earth while I watched, shot. No soldier watched me, shot from his perch across a continent. There is no good thing such as time. Circuits on the asphalt, air currents or conditional migrations, meat of cranes litter city skylines and the parched earth of an expanding desert. I am told of someone's despair, and again, neutral reminders weep of my own goodness through pleasant graphic design. Even Oedipus gave up looking after shame was made visible, but these fresh-cut threads, this twine around a tree, the unopened wallet denying a mouth while purchasing flowers, floats on superior blue air. Lines of credit deliver them to safety, and only the other lambs to slaughter. Young and vain, I waved my rights to a fair trail, sunk both feet into bright foliage, relishing an untouched somewhere. I could weary and break for the first time, moon-carved. A cement drainage ditch scoops gray crescent circles out of the hill. Order stretches around me now. In the weeks and days and hours afterwards, a poet I do not know writes a plea, one of the most common modes of address which poets author. In it, she asks us to spare Mary Oliver. Geese have become an all too acceptable metric of dread for English speakers. I watch any true motion of terror fail to galvanize. It flags, pinwheeling out of the sky in a tumble, peppered with bits of shot. A man in charge of a political party crawls on the ground, on his hands and knees, hurling a rock at a quadcopter. You won't even slash a Waymo's tires. For those who are unwilling to say an action and take it, or for those unwilling to stay silent as they see action taken, there is an easier way to metastasize feeling. Direct your action towards the many leveled words for flight. Flocks of honking sonnets sail overhead, their sleek formation littering houndstooth texture across lakes, phone screens, fontanelles. All reflective surfaces demonstrate their V-wedge vying for order. The poet says spare the geese. The geese spare the poetic from too much. No need to suffer if soft animals can trace their bodies in the sky or over water. I trust only the unsurprised, the upheld breath, the wearied by failure and attempted triumph. Walk 100 miles, pay in cash, connect a fuse to a charge, wear a mask, either to hide your face or spare someone your breath. I will break one solid bone before reusing any word, wing a hollow tip, feel a long neck loose slip from amongst my fingers. God bless nothing except effectiveness, every gristling lip of a canine, those who have taken up target practice or at least know that they should, tender shoots from concrete, and those watching RICO cases in Atlanta or the second storming of Columbia in 50 years, figs scorched off a tree in November, and those with contacts on the ground. When the new fig leaves bud in November, tricked by endless warmth, contact friends of friends, those whose friends are dead, or those who have saved friends from death, and those carrying contraband. Let them know you are ready to announce your place in the family of deserving things.
This first poem is called The Horse Fell Off the Poem by Mahmoud Darwish, translated by Fadi Judah. The horse fell off the poem, and the Galilean women were wet with butterflies and dew, dancing above chrysanthemum, the two absent ones, you and I. You and I are the two absent ones, a pair of white doves chatting on the branches of a holm oak. No love, but I love ancient love poems that guard the sick moon from smoke. I attack and retreat, like the violin in quatrains. I get far away from my time when I am near the topography of a place. There is no margin in modern language left to celebrate what we love, because all that will be was. The horse fell bloodied with my poem, and I fell bloodied with the horse's blood. This next poem is from Surge by Atal Adnan. A long night I spent thinking that reality was the story of the human species, the vanquished search for the vanquished. Sounds come by, ruffling my soul. I sense space's elasticity. Go on reading the books she wrote on the wars she's seen. Why do seasons who regularly follow their appointed time deny their kind of energy to us? Why is winter followed by a few more days of winter? We came to transmit the shimmering from which we came to name it. We deal with a permanent voyage, the becoming of that which itself had become. This next poem I wrote after a protest last year. On October 14th, 2023, it was raining lightly at the protest for Gaza. We stood below the financial building emitting its aquarium glow. Someone led us in a chant cursing at the people inside the building. The chant had a slant rhyme I was familiar with, since I had repeated variations of it year after year. We thought it was important we keep repeating it to spread awareness. I imagined our awareness slicing through the building's concrete, glass, and metal exteriors. Awareness slipping into their food and their dreams. When their children cried, traces of awareness would be found in their tears. I lacked awareness of my surroundings when I rushed through my life in a neurochemical haze. My mother lacked awareness of my childhood because for several years she was completing tasks like someone on fire. Everything and nothing suddenly felt reducible to our awareness of one another. I felt some awareness crystallizing in me until someone pointed out it was a Saturday, which meant there was no one inside the office, which meant we were standing outside an empty building, cursing at its symbolism. This last poem is graffiti on a destroyed building in Gaza. I love you, and I love those who love you, and I love love if love loves you. And if love doesn't love you, then I curse love, and still I love you.
Hi, my name is Willa Smart. I'm recording this today in Oakland, California. Thanks to Small Press Traffic for inviting me to read. I'm going to read 2 poems by myself and then a poem from the Palestinian poet Tamim al-Barghouti. A tune splits open your head, rain ejected back into cloud. Whatever was disturbed about travel, a parcel proves inadequate to rain, or else the damaged spine of the book happened earlier. I am beckoned to forget the fantasy body, but that was the one I liked. Nothing unusual happens in the frame, or nothing at all happens, but it gives me an uneasy feeling. Not that I forgot, but that what was there was what I can't know. This is a problem for a different branch of knowing things. I make a friend see my breasts. I know what you're thinking. Is being in water a form of boundarylessness? Indeed, each form is the form of another form. Head tilts to the light in the form of Ophelia, the frame of the reeds that form the bank. The procession of spare forms possesses in the aggregate force enough to hold me under. A pale breezy morning. Willa enters, wearing this kind of over-considered get-up. Urgent music as she enters the water. Exterior vernal pool, noon. The flatness of the midday lighting is made into something else by the drama of dark clouds that make difficult work for color correctionists, though they are proud of its difficulty. One cloud gives rain, but only for a moment. The water has a milk quality, not that it is white, but that it is soft, and proof is provided as one of the poolside figures places his hand into the silt and muck. Opposite him, Willa lowers a hand into the filled red as well, likewise confirming the water's texture. Around the crouched figure's fingers, insects and larvae are busy with something that doesn't concern me. I just realized this door closes. Now I'm in pure fantasy. Of course, the milky quality of the water is due as well to the disturbance of rain, which serves to agitate the particulate matter of the mud. It's wrong or presumptive to call this agitation, with all of its connotations that do not concern particulates. Police called her a professional agitator. Under small ripples, their hands are touching. Many things can be induced to give milk. A mixture of herbs makes milk press from one's pores, pale and slick, as is also the silt of a spring pool. And so the ground makes not milk's likeness, but is giving milk as well as are we. It's just a different kind of milk than that I give, and so it isn't recognized at first. And then this is the poem by Tamim al-Barghouti from 2008. 60 years. Tell the enemy after each battle, your soldiers achieved nothing with their guns. We have known invaders before you, but your audacity cannot be outdone. 60 years and still you are shameless. Death is in us, but fear is in you. By God, you are disgrace among invaders, for the world has hardly seen the likes of you. We were not present at the lottery when the nations drew their lots, picking enemies. You are not even worthy of our enmity. Hating the low would make us lowly. Thanks for listening. Glory to the martyrs and victory to the resistance.
Texto